Hey guys, Jenn Bruno Smith here from the High Rollers Club. I am here with Adam Stuart of Axiom Boudoir in Richmond, Virginia. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? Nice to be here.
Really good to have you. Really good to have you. So you are just killing it over there. Your work is amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm really thrilled to be here talking with you because it wasn't so long ago that I saw other people talking with you, and I was wondering if I could ever be one of those people, and here I am. So it's like it's a little bucket list item, I guess, that I've just checked for the day.
Awesome. Well, I'm very happy to have you here. And you really just joined us not that long ago, right? When did you join our course?
I think officially like December, January, officially, right?
Yeah. So you've really only been with us for maybe what, like 6 months or so?
5 or 6 months. Those months, of course, included like the 3 months of shutdown. And so like right when I was like getting my groove on and really kind of catching the flow of things, we kind of had to go into a holding pattern. So it's been 6 months, but really like it feels like 3. But yeah, it's a relatively short time.
Right. So tell me about what you were doing before the course. What was your job? What did you do?
Yeah. So I'm probably the newest professional photographer in the entire mastermind group of members, to my knowledge, anyway. If there's another,
which is amazing. Yeah,
it's really great. And so I've been a hobbyist photographer for a long time, but I was previously actually an academic. I was pursuing a PhD, and I was teaching university college courses. And so I was not in the industry at all. And it was a classic sort of like passion becomes a side hustle, then side hustle becomes a main hustle. And I never dreamed that it would happen this fast.
Yeah.
I sort of imagined that I would have to dabble for a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's no stretch to say that this course has helped me to expedite that process like tremendously, going from like not even knowing like how to run a business or like even how to charge for my photography. Like that was such a foreign concept. Like photography's art. Like, what do you mean I got to charge people for it?
Right.
And now like I'm super comfortable and all of my procedures are in place, and it's almost kind of like mind boggling to think about how fast that's happened now.
Yeah. When we were doing our pre-interview and I'd asked you this question, you said that you were doing a PhD in sociology. I was like, wait, like, so you didn't have a business? I'm like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I had no business. And, when I first saw the program, all these people have been in photography for 8-10 years, maybe they've done weddings, they've done families, sort of newborns, that type of thing. And they were thinking about getting into boudoir, or they wanted to up their game with boudoir. And there are still a lot of, obviously, those types of photography genres in the mastermind itself. Not everybody's boudoir, but for me, it was just kind of like, how do I like sell a photo to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like I was on such a different level from everybody else. And so it was a really big leap, I think, for me to jump in the deep end the way that I have. But
Right.
I guess it just goes to show that like, it's very possible to go from like a 0 point where you're just thinking about like, hey, maybe this is a side hustle. How do I make this a main hustle? It's definitely a really great decision on my part.
Yeah. I mean, that's so impressive to think that you didn't have a business at all before you started with us. And now, so let's talk first about, because you were starting from 0, what are the things that helped you, really jumpstart your business? What are the things you learned that really took off for you?
I think I've thought about this a lot. There's sort of a twofold explanation there. The first one is that it's given me, what is it? What's this? There's no cliche, Jen. It's something about like discipline, or is the foundation of freedom, or something like that. It's kind of like a paradox, right? Like you need constraints to have freedom. Right. And maybe you guys have seen that like in a TED talk or like a meme, an inspirational meme somewhere. But like,
we can make one.
We should. This is the meme of the video. What it's done is it's giving me kind of like the guidelines to sort of allow me to do it my way, right? And so I think the prospecting stuff has been really, really incredible for me. Utilizing kind of like my own personality, the kind of things that I excel at, the ways that I sort of already connect with people to reach new clients, and to build kind of social proof and build a rapport with people online through digital, social media, people I've never met.
Right.
But they feel comfortable calling me as if I'm, you know, an old friend. That part has been really great. And then finding yourself really getting really quickly like over your head too, right? Because suddenly you have all these people who want to shoot with you and you're like, oh God, what do I do now? Right?
Yeah. That's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. And you know, and I don't, but the great news is that I don't have to sort of make it up as I go. There are all of these systems like sort of ready to be sort of taken up, you know, whether it's the actual shooting process itself, certainly the sales stuff. I didn't have to think about, I mean, it's great, right? Like I just do my art, I do my artistic process. And then I just sort of just did what you told me to do for the in-person sales session. It was like too easy. And then next thing you know, I walk away my first sale of, you know, the $4,000 package. I sold the siren.
So your very first, let's go back to that because that's crazy. Yeah. So your very first sale as a boudoir photographer was $4,000.
A little over $4,000. I upsold the print credit, you know, the wall art, the way that you teach us. Awesome. So it was like 4,300, which, like, you know, I'm embarrassed to say this, but like being like a college instructor, like it was like let's say it was more than a month's salary. You know, grad student instructors don't get or criminally underpaid. So it was an eye opener to my first sale to sort of eclipse what I had previously been making in a month. But that seems to be a common experience of a lot of people actually who join the mastermind, I found.
Yeah. I mean, I think the average sale for a lot of our students is between 3,000 to 4,000. It seems is where most of them sit, which is amazing because that's, you know, that's a month's salary for most people. So to be making that, and so my sales average is 4,184 and I shoot like 15 to 17 a month. So once you really get your systems going, like the money is awesome.
Yeah. And the benefit is like, I'm just sort of kind of been able to take things on as I'm able, right? And so for me, like a big thing I'm thinking through right now is like, okay, so how can I ramp up my numbers? How can I ramp up the you know, I'm not going to shoot more than 8 in a month for right now, but so I can sort of take on what I'm ready to handle right now. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's a big part of sort of learning as you go. A lot of people look at some of the people who are having the most success in this program and they think to themselves like, my God, like they're doing website, they're doing ads, they've got a killer Facebook group, they've got all of their, you know, all of the widgets and the who's it's and the what's it's that Umberto teaches, you know, all set up, and you're like, I could never do that. And it's like, but you have to, right? You take, it's sort of I mean, you certainly should follow the program the way that it's outlined to the best of your ability, but the benefit is we're all adults, we're all smart people, and we all have individual situations, and you can sort of pick and find the pieces that you need for that moment and then work towards in the grand scheme, like then bringing it all together. And for some people, they can do that in 3 months because they're, you know, mutants or because they've been at it for 10 years. And other people like me, you know, it's going to be like, realistically, it's going to be like at least 2 years, maybe more before like, I feel like I've fully implemented all of these systems, which is really exciting because like I'm already having a lot of success.
Yeah. I think too, what starts to happen is like, as you get busier, as you have more success, you might find your own way of doing things and just be able to use the ways we teach to augment like what you are learning to do on your own. So I'm still really impressed that you took this from like zero and you tell me about your bookings, like, cause literally you started with nothing. You started with 0 bookings. So what's your schedule like now? How often are you shooting? How far are you booked out?
So right now things are a little bit crazy because I have about 24 people that I had booked prior to COVID who have not actually gotten on the calendar just yet.
Gotcha.
I actually don't shoot from a studio right now, and I'm not convinced that I ever will. We will see. Maybe you can twist my arm about that later. Right now I shoot primarily from Airbnbs and in clients' homes, and I'm actually having a great deal of success with that. Yeah. And that's another way that I can go from 0 to where I'm at now because I have very little overhead.
Yeah.
You know, my client, you know, takes care of the Airbnb. That helps me kind of like, you know, that helps me with follow through. But they book the Airbnb, they're going to show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
there's a sort of like a value added aspect to that as well.
Right.
It also differentiates me from other people who do have studios, who have been, established in the city for a long time. And, one way is not better or worse. It's just different. Right.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, so, I guess the advice I would give to sort of total beginners in this position is sort of find, what you're doing, and then figure out sort of like if, how that makes you different, and then use that as a marketing pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess I just shot my brains out when I started. I did probably like 10, 12 test shoots.
Yeah.
Test shoots with people who just, hey, you want to do this thing, and
right.
give you some photos, and that turned into paid bookings. I was really using the prospecting model on Facebook and Instagram that Umberto and you teach. And now I'm at the point my goal is through Instagram and TikTok now, which we should talk about.
Yeah.
Because you're killing it on TikTok. I mean, it might be like a lofty goal, but I think that I could probably fill out the remainder of 2020 without actually having to drop a dime on an ad.
That's amazing, right?
No, and it's nice to know that the ads are there, right? And the systems are going to be there for learning Facebook ads, right, and Google ads. But like, if I can get to the point where I'm using that like underpriced attention, as like Gary Vee likes to say, that's
love him.
All the better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's crazy. So you went from 0 bookings to at least like 24, right? That you need to get on your calendar to get shooting, and lots of stuff on your plate to work. So what is the biggest piece of advice that you would have for people that are thinking about doing the mastermind, but of course it's an investment, so they're not quite sure. What's the biggest piece of advice you have?
We just talked about Gary Vee, and so I'm going to crib off of him because he's a genius. And he likes to say, you jump in and put some skin in the game right off the bat. Because that's not a unique insight to him, but it's something that he teaches a lot, and I think that's something that this course can facilitate. And I'll be real about it. I threw this course on a credit card, and I think we as business owners do that a lot. Whether you're taking out a business loan, whether you're using a business line of credit, whether you're doing this or that, it's important that people be smart about this stuff. And they're not encouraging irresponsible decisions, but like sometimes you really do need to sort of, pardon my language really quickly, but like write a check that your ass can't cash in that moment.
Yeah.
Because that like you're going to have to rise to the occasion, right, in order to make good on that bet. Right. And so that, I think, more even equally as much as like the material in the course itself, it was the act of taking that leap of doing the course that sort of pushed me and motivated me to kind of think about like, okay, I did this thing, right? Now it's like it's sink or swim.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like there are enough resources in the group to stay afloat and then some. So it's a nice combination.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. When I'm talking to new students or prospective students, I always tell them, like, what's easier to get into a cold pool? Like whenever you dip your toes in and like you start walking in, or whenever you just jump in. It's so much easier to get acclimated to the water whenever you just jump in and you just go for it. And people that do that have more success, I found, rather than people that are like, I think I'm going to go in a little bit and then I'm going to like chill out and go back to the town. So definitely like when you jump in like that, I feel like it's easier to have more success quickly. But you also have the unique, situation that you're a male in Boudoir, which, how has your experience been as that? Because I have a lot of men that I'll talk to and be like, I can't do it. I'm a male. Like I can't shoot boudoir. I'm not going to be successful. And I'll be like, actually you can. So what advice do you have for, specifically men that are thinking about getting into boudoir?
I think that it's just like any other decision that you make. People ask me this all the time. Clients ask me, I get the same inquiry calls a lot too. I have other photographers talk to me about this stuff. And it's just like any other decision that you would make. I think like, you need to know sort of what the job demands, and you just sort of find a way to leverage your strengths. Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to look different for everybody.
Right.
Me, I don't know. I'm kind of a goofball. Like I'm actually being quite reserved right now on camera for some reason. I think you're making me nervous, Jen, with this, with this podcast thing. But like,
Sorry.
I was like to say, when I'm shooting, like I take on a sort of alter ego. It's kind of like, like gay bestie. So it's like a lot of yes, I'm like, I'm just gassing them up. I'm their biggest cheerleader. I'm here, I'm accepting, I'm open. I'm just going to, push and accentuate all the good things and just be their biggest cheerleader in that process. And that's me, right? Like that's my personality. I wouldn't suggest somebody who doesn't have that in them to do that as a man. I'm thinking about some of my favorite male photographers. They bring other things to the table. They might bring a really like empowering, cool, confident energy to their photo shoots. I'm thinking about a couple people by name and that I know very well and I admire a lot. And that's not what I do. That's not my energy, but that's their energy, and it works when I could imagine having a shoot with a photographer like that. And I believe you had a shoot with a photographer like that one time, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it Marco? Are you thinking of?
Yeah, Marco.
Yeah, Marco shot me, and that's actually so. Marco's amazing and he's so talented. And that is exactly how he shoots. Like he gives very good direction, very specific direction, super chill. I thought like nothing of getting naked in front of him. Like I was just like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. Like, cause it was just like so comfortable and so professional. And I think that sometimes and then, so funny story actually. So Marco was not part of my course before he shot me. And I did my ordering appointment because I hired him. I love his work. Every year I hire another photographer that I really love their work. And after my ordering appointment, after I paid, I was like, Marco, you would have made double that if you were in my course. I paid him like $2,000 and I was like, just so you know, I would have paid you about $4,500 if you would have used my investment menu.
Marco's work is definitely worth $4,500.
Oh my God. I was like, I just got his
male photographer.
deal. I know, he's amazing. He's incredible. And that's what I told him. I was like, you are so talented. What are you doing right now? Charging. He's amazing. So anyway, he joined right after. But
so I didn't want to call him out by name, but there are others who like have.
I totally just did. Sorry, Marco.
Yeah, that's fine. Marco, he's such a good guy, gracious.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's incredible, and a very good educator too. Actually, he's a very good teacher too.
Yeah, I mean, seek out the best in their business. I came to the best in the business realm, and you seek out the other people, stand on the shoulders of giants. I've learned a lot from him too. But so Marco's energy is very different from mine. But one's not better, one's not worse. It's just different. So what I would just say is like, know thyself. Yeah. If you're going to be a male, for any reason, for anything that you're doing, like whatever, like if you're wondering what to make for breakfast that day, you should probably know thyself, right? If you have any food allergies or whatever, but like, I'm bad at metaphors, Jen. But the point is like really like know yourself and think about the particular strengths that you do and don't bring to the table, and don't try to be somebody or something that you're not. And I think authenticity is the most important thing when it comes to building trust and building a rapport client, which is so much more important as a male. And also too, if you're a male photographer, get your ass on social media. Okay. Like they have to see you, they have to interact with you, go live, do the things that you teach in your course with respect to social media and Facebook groups and all the rest of it. Right. Because they'll feel like you're just an old friend. And when it comes time to, to strip down, to take your clothes off for the session or to book the session, there's just already that social proof that level of trust and respect.
Absolutely. No, you're totally right. You definitely, people have to, I always teach this, is people have to know you, like you, and trust you in order to hire you. And so by doing the lives, like you said, and I feel like a lot of people are very anxious about doing lives. And I mean, I do them all the time. And every time I do them, I always feel like super awkward. And but people like seeing you. And I actually think that people like that awkwardness because they feel like, you're more relatable. And, but definitely like you hit on it, being like authentic and genuine is super important. And it's, I think, even more important when you're a man, so that especially like the women that you're shooting trust you. Right. So
Yeah.
So what are your plans moving forward? Like, do you have any, like, what are your goals? Since you're just, usually I would ask people, like, where were you at last year? Like, what are your goals for next year? But like,
Mm-hmm.
you were not doing this last year. So what are your goals like for, next year, this time, whenever we do another podcast, what are your goals for next year? Where do you want to be?
I think that there's no way that I won't hit six figures in my first 12 months as a professional photographer. That's really exciting.
That's amazing.
I have to sort of pinch myself to think about that. I'm looking forward to really my goals, just fully implement all of the systems in the program, because what I love, and I said this off air, I'll say it again, it's like, what I love about the mastermind is that you and Umberto like never stop adding value to the course. And I mean that. And I'm not just like, gassing you up because I won the mic or whatever. And I know a lot of people, look, I used to watch these before I joined, and I was like, how much is she paying that guy?
So you experienced my awkwardness firsthand, right? And you still joined us.
It worked. It was endearing enough to get me. It was authentic, right? Eventually. And it is important, right? People have to know you, trust you, and like you. And like you just said, it worked for me. So here we are. But I think like the course like never stops. And in a way, like it can feel overwhelming if you let it,
right.
but don't let it, right? Like understand that it's there for you when you need it.
Right.
And push yourself, and don't allow yourself to have analysis paralysis, like Umberto says a lot with a lot of things. And I hope that I'm not putting myself on some pedestal like I'm perfect and I've got it all figured out. Like there's so much I'm behind on, and I think everyone in the course will be very honest about that. I have so much to learn. But my goals, I think getting my systems up and running, being fully booked, and then just sort of tweaking things as I go, little by little. I think that's my goal. I don't know that I'll ever, a lot of people who start shooting in hotels and Airbnbs and on location, like sort of have a long-term goal of doing the studio thing.
Yeah.
Maybe having a physical location would be well within my grip in the next 6 to 12 months. But that's just something that's going to be decided later down the road.
I mean, I'm like, 4 years now shooting Boudoir full time, and I'm still in my living room. So, and it's comfortable. There's zero overhead. There's something to be said for keeping things simple. And if what you're doing right now is keeping it simple and you're taking home a lot more money, then I almost feel like the studio is almost like kind of like a status symbol. I feel like for a lot of photographers, like they do it to make themselves feel legitimate, but it's not really necessary. Like, and I just read a post in another group earlier today where like the girl, the photographer was like, I'm walking people through my house and they have to walk in my basement, and I feel like they're not going to feel like it's a real shoot. And I was just sitting there thinking like, dude, like my living room is full of kids' toys. Like, but when they get their images, they're gorgeous and they know what I'm capable of producing. And so I think that people hire you for your brand and your aesthetic and your work, and that the location that it takes place in isn't as important as we think it is, I guess.
Yeah. I think, being like, it's really important to remember that like, you have to be a leader.
Yeah.
As a business owner, and particularly, you are like, you have to be a leader with your client and understand that like, they don't know what's supposed to happen or what's not supposed to happen. And that was one of the ends, when I had my first Zoom IPS during quarantine, I was like, I kept having to sort of remind myself like, oh no, this isn't going to go according to plan. And I'm like, all right. They don't know what the plan is supposed to be or not supposed. Like the plan is whatever it is that I do. Right. Like, so
you did your first IPS ever was not only during quarantine, it was over Zoom too.
It was over Zoom.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've actually done more Zoom IPS than in person right now because of the situation.
That's insane.
And again, like to me, it feels amazing because like, they can't lay eyes on samples. They can't touch things, feel things. You can't have that in-person interaction in the same sort of way. You're sort of fumbling between windows because, it's not as smooth on Zoom. But yeah, so I'm really excited about getting back to in-person stuff.
Me
sales.
too. Yeah, I'm on Zoom for until it's safe again, right? Like, so, and most of my clients, so I just shot my first session today and back since March 17th. And I think most of my clients will be very like understanding that it will have to be over Zoom.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. What?
One of the challenges I'm having, and it's like, is getting those clients to rebook after COVID. So I think you've had a lot more success than I have. Some people in the mastermind group were talking about how we're having some challenges getting people who were previously super excited about their shoots to kind of come back on side and rebook. So,
and I don't know if I mentioned this on the thread, but moving forward, anytime somebody changes the date or reschedules, you have to get them back on another date within 24 hours. And that, that way, even if you have to move them again, like the client I shot today, I previously moved her session 2 times before because of COVID. And yeah, it sucks. It's more confusing. It's more work for me or for Nikki, my studio manager, but they're assigned a date. They have a date that they need to know that like they're coming in for. There's accountability to that,
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's the brilliant thing about the masters. You don't have to wonder, right? Like we're all having the same problems, right? In our own sorts of ways, and we sort of all discovered, sort of by accident, in the Facebook group that we were all having trouble getting people rescheduled who had previously paid the session retainer. And that's the benefit of it. Everyone's kind of all in this together, regardless of whether you made a quarter mil last year or whether you're like me and you didn't know how to charge a client for photos. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
My future big goal, I think, is probably hiring an assistant.
Yeah.
You mentioned your brilliant assistant, Nikki.
Yeah.
And so that's one that I left out. But in line with what we just talked about, like I don't have to worry about that. When the time comes, there are people in the group and like you yourself who already have gone down that road, and you guys can help me with hiring the right person and writing the job, description and the interview process. And we're kind of doing that together all the time. So I guess I just don't have to worry about what comes next because I know that there's going to be like a ridiculous amount of help, like every step of the way.
That's awesome.
Like too easy, isn't it? Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Well, it's been so nice talking to you. I'm so grateful that you took the time to chat. We're really proud of your success. You've really been killing it. And I can't wait to continue to follow you to see how you're doing and watch your growth. You've been doing great.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, thanks. So if you guys, if you are listeners, if they want to follow you or follow your work, where you're on Instagram and TikTok, what are those links?
That's right. I'm at Axiom Boudoir on Instagram and TikTok as well. And you can find me at axiomboudoir.com as well. And we didn't talk about TikTok, but TikTok, if you guys are on TikTok, you better get on there.
You got to get on TikTok.
It's happening.
Right. It is the place to be. So, okay. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And if you guys have any questions, you can definitely find us in the Facebook group. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Make sure you push the follow button on YouTube, and we'll see you guys during the next time. Thanks.